In the last section, we added in a sleep statement to our main routine, but then very quickly realized that it would cause all of the messages that are coming through our channel to be throttled. So we would only ever receive a message at best once every 5 seconds or so. So we need to figure out a more clever place to put this little sleep statement. Now the very obvious solution here, you might be thinking, okay, well let's just take this sleep statement, so I'm going to cut it from right there, and we'll put it into our function instead. So now we're saying that when our program first boots up, it's going to kick off all the initial check link go routines, and then we're going to wait 5 seconds and then start to initiate the fetch process. Then every single time we get a event or a message through our channel, we'll then kick off another go routine. That one will pause 5 seconds and then do the fetch. So essentially we're kind of looking at something like, let's do a little bit of cleanup from the last section here. We're kind of saying, okay, the main routine can always run, but then all these child ones are going to kind of wait for 5 seconds before actually doing the fetch. So I'm going to suggest that maybe that is also not the best approach in the world. And the reason for that is that when we look at this function check link right here, I don't know about you, but in my mind, I'm kind of imagining that the purpose of the check link function is to check a link right now. Like, don't give me any pause. If I call check link, I expect it to immediately go and attempt to fetch this link. So I think that although this would certainly work, although this would keep our main routine from being throttled, I think that it's also not really the appropriate use of the check link function. So clearly, between the main routine and this check link function, we have to put this time.sleep statement somewhere. So here's what we're going to do. Back inside of the for loop, we're going to delete the check link function here. And instead, we are going to place a function literal. A function literal. Now, if you're coming from just about any other language, you probably are already aware of what a function literal is. You probably just have a different name for it. So if you're coming from the JavaScript world, a function literal in Go is 100% equivalent to an anonymous function. Or Ruby, Python, C#, PHP. Well, not PHP. PHP is an anonymous function, but all these others, you might know this as a lambda function or a lambda expression. So in Go, a function literal is an unnamed function that we use to wrap some little chunk of code so we can execute it at some point in the future. So I'm going to suggest that when we start up this go routine right here, rather than just saying, hey, go routine, go and immediately kick off this check link function, I think we should put a function literal here instead. And inside that function literal, we can pause our code, so we can do that sleep statement of 5 seconds, and then call the check link function. So let's see what this is actually going to look like. We're going to say func. We're going to put down our parentheses for the argument list. We're going to put down curly braces, just like we would with a normal function. And then inside of the function body right here, we're going to place the code that we want to actually execute. So we'll first start off by saying time.sleep 5 times time.second. And then we'll also say check link with L and C. And now one last thing we have to add in here, we do have to add in a set of parentheses after the function literal. So just to be clear, this right here is a function literal. This defines a function literal, but we have to place on this extra set of parentheses to invoke it or to actually call it. Now that might seem a little bit surprising right there, but remember the check link function that we just had previously was something like go check link L and C. And so when we want to kick off a new Go routine, we put a function call or a function invocation right after the Go keyword. So in this case, we're saying, okay, here's the function and call it like so. Okay, so at this point, let's save our code here. And now when I do, you might notice a little green squiggly up here on the screen. So the green squiggly, and again, you might only see this if you are using VS Code. So if you're using a different editor, you may or may not see this. If I hover over it, you'll see a warning message here, and it says range variable L captured by func literal, or function literal. Well, that's kind of interesting. So this is actually going to kind of kick off another very interesting discussion about Go routines in general. So let's take a quick pause. We're going to come back in the next section, and we're going to figure out exactly what this little warning message right here means. So quick break, and I'll see you in just a minute.